We are going podcast style today. Um, the title of the live is wifey. No, night. The naivete of wifey. Yeah, I don't know how I be coming up with these titles, and sometimes I just be like, I don't know, like what's a catchy word, and just like make a title with it or something. I don't know, but there's a few things that I want to talk about. But first, just real quick, just wanted to update everybody. I always like to update you. And like I said, if you we're going podcast style today, so meaning it'll just be audio. So, but anyway, so just a quick update. The 4-week one-on-one container is always ongoing. Um, right now, and this is for those of you who catch the replay. Um, Actually, since I'm the only one here, I'm going to wait. But I am going to put my link in the chat here. So, let's see. So, you can book your coaching, your discovery call. Let's see. Put that in the chat. Okay. So, anyway, um, you know, I was thinking about the naivete, as in the title, of women, right? Specifically wives, because obviously that's the title, right? So, but I was thinking about the infantilization that takes place. Hey, Sabrina, we doing podcast style today, so um, I wanted to still wanted to be consistent, but I didn't want to put my camera on just because I didn't really sleep that great last night, and I just didn't want to come on camera looking real crazy. So we just gonna do podcast style today. So, but anyway, so I was thinking about how marriage it contributes to the infantilization of women, and I know this from my own experience of feeling like, because and I've said many times that wives are basically like teenage daughters, um, that do chores, right? Um, because you never really left daughtership, and so once you get married and you're under that ownership of that man, you just continue to be in daughtership, right? But I noticed that now that I'm the observer, right, instead of being in it, I am now the observer, right? And I observe women who are married, and there is a childlike essence, right? And not in a way of being in tune with your inner child. I mean, we should all have that. We should all, that is a part of the work. That's actually a part of self mastery, when you can accept the things that happened to you as a child, and and embrace that inner child that was, because that's one of the things, most of our traumas and stuff and violations take place when we're children, so it does something to that inner child. But it's one thing to do that type of work, it's another thing to actually operate like a child, and this is what a lot of women do. And it's really interesting because I'm seeing a correlation between with things that happen to us as little girls, right? And certain type of traumas and things that take place when we're little girls, and it actually forces us to grow up faster, right? But then at the same time, because we never did that work, it's like these things will take place and it'll force us to be so independent at an early age, but still, but you're still a child, right? So it's like you can be really independent, fiercely independent, right? But still operate like a child if you haven't really done that work, right? So this is why we see where women, single women, they can, have really great careers, and they're able to handle, those aspects of their lives, but they're still infantilized, right? That's why it's so easy for them to get caught up in these relationships with these men, and and or they get married, and they look to men more of like being their fathers, and so they want to place themselves in that position of being treated like a child, right? So it's really an interesting, how can I put it, it's like it's a really interesting dynamic, right? Being forced to grow up fast but still being a child. And I mean, it makes sense, right? Because that inner child, that disruption of your childhood development, being able to go in its proper course in the way it's supposed to go, is disrupted, right? So I was looking at this video, actually, well, this reel actually right before I came on live, and it was the actress Essence Atkins, and she was talking about how when she was 6 years old, her mother, she was she wanted to go to ballet, and she was like fiercely afraid of her mother, right? And but this particular situation, she wanted to go to ballet, and she said her mother was supposed to take her, and then she ended up telling her mother was asleep or something, I don't know. She was like, oh, we just go tomorrow, and can I just take you tomorrow? And so she was just kind of, she said she was just standing there looking at her mother like, just tears in her eyes, and just because she really wanted to go to ballet. Now, mind, she's 6 years old when this is happening, right? 6 years old. So her mom in the bed with her boyfriend, it's always a boyfriend. Um, she said her mom turned over and looked at her again and said, well, can you go? Now she's 6 years old. So she said, yes, mommy, I can do it. I can do it. So her mother gave her, the money or whatever she needed to ride the train and all of these things. 6 years old, though. I keep saying it's 6 years old. Can you imagine? 6 years old, and she's having to get on these trains and go from Brooklyn to Manhattan to go to ballet. 6 years old. That is such a disruption of your childhood. But it taught her at the same time. And this is why it's always about transmutation of energy. Now, she could have been one of those women. Now, obviously, I don't know Essence Atkins personally. I can only go off of what I see, and the way she presents herself. She seems like the type of woman that, because that happened to her, instead of her allowing it to damage her, she did the work on herself, and she has basically transmuted that energy. It has actually helped her to be who she is today. So now it's like she she talked about how it caused fear in her to do things, but now even when that fear comes up, she's able to, it's like she's still able to just face it head on and do what she has to do. So it created this resilience in her, right? And so when these things happen to us as children, it really is about the transmutation of that energy, right? But a lot of women aren't doing that. So if something like that happens, that can be traumatic, because we always think trauma. We always want to go to like physical abuse or sexual trauma, but trauma shows up in different ways, right? That's traumatic for a 6-year old by herself, a little girl, and your mother is letting you get on the train and do all this shit as a 6-year old. Who anything could have happened to her, right? So she, so when these things happen, it can either keep you in that mindset of that 6-year old little girl, or whatever age, as a child, whatever age that trauma took place, and it can either keep you there, right? And then it manifested itself in these different areas and different relationship dynamics that you find yourself in. And for a lot of women, they look to men to be their fathers, right? So they're looking for like this father. But then also, a lot of women, and I always talk about relationships between men and women, they're like these simultaneous father, daughter, mother, and son relationships. And so, she could have taken that and allowed it to take her life in a different direction, but it ended up making her be much more resilient, and even being fearful of things, but also being fearless, right? um so I think it's so important that, like, it's like that's a part of the great work. We think about all of these things that have taken place with people. We hear about, difficult childhoods and things that they've endured. We think about our own traumas and things that we've endured. And it can either strengthen us, or it can, it can imprison us, right? So I think I'm getting off the tangent of what my original thought was going to be. But let me make a segue, right? So that naivete, right? So that's a good segue right there. Something like that taking place, it can either cause you to be, like I said, resilient. It can cause you to be able to see the world for what it really is, like you don't have the blinders on, right? You see people for who and what they are. You see the world for what it really is. You're very rooted. Or it can make you be fearful of what's out there, and you stay in this world of delusion. When you stay in the world of delusion, this is the naivete, right? So when I say the naivete of wives, most wives have no idea what's going on outside of their house, right? So if we're a stay-at-home mom, wife, or whatever, right? You have no idea what that man is doing once he leaves work, once he leaves the house to go to work. Yeah, most likely he's going to work, of course, but you don't know what's going on. I find that wives tend to be very, um, like I said, naive and childlike, right? They have no. It's almost like they have no idea of how the world really works. They have no idea about what's going on with him when he's down there at that job, right? He could have, people always say that, you have your work husband or your work wife, right? So he could have his work wife that, they go to lunch every single day, right? Most of the extramarital affairs usually are with someone that you work with, right? So I think that these marriages, that is another design of it, to keep women in this state of naivete, right? This childlike mind. And when I observe women who are married, I see that so much. They have this, it's like they're like these little girls, these like teenagers. And the system of marriage, like what I always say, if is one of patriarchy's biggest accomplishments. it keeps women in this state of daughtership. Oh, hey, brown sugar. This is why often men target younger women. Yes. I was this when I was 19 to 26, not married. Yeah. I lived with a man 12 years older. Yeah. So that's again, and that always takes us back to the underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, right? So it is definitely designed to keep you in that infantilized state. And my brain started to develop around 27, and I looked at him so strange and left because, yeah. And that's another thing that happens. Once you, and there's a natural occurrence for women. It's like you can only stay stuck in that state of infantilization for so long because your brain is going to naturally start to, it's going to do it, right? And this is why you see all of these changes start to occur. You start to see women, they start questioning things. They start questioning themselves. They want to start going to therapy and they want to start doing the work on themselves. And all of these things start taking place because they're changing and they're evolving. But that man is the same. They don't change. Men don't change. And women do. Because you are the life giver. We go through, I always talk about the three phases that women go through: maiden, mother, crone, right? And so we're naturally going through all of these changes. And so you can only be infantilized for so long. The world is at some point going to force you out of it. And this is why when you find out your husband is cheating on you, then it's like it's this whole like you're just you're like a deer caught in the headlights. And now you have to figure out, am I going to stay? How could he do this to me? But and it's just this whole thing starts to take place. Yes, women change a lot. Yes, yeah, they're very childish, and you can just see it. Like I'm trying to tell you, like it's so wild, y'all, because I really, really see it, and I mean it's so crazy because it's even kind of hard for me to describe it, but it's like you can just see it. They behave like teenagers. I mean, they have this, I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe. Like I think that that's another thing though that men are attracted to in women because we have this we have like this ethereal this I'm trying to figure out what this is because we know why they're attracted to younger women because like I said, the underdeveloped prefrontal cortex is perfect for them to mold and shape it into what they want, right? But eventually those natural biological and cognitive things are going to take place. But there's something I think what I'm looking for is just that life force energy that the feminine possesses regardless of her age. We have that. It's still like that essence of wonder and imagination, right? um but again, if you're not if you're not really doing that work, and it's, how can I put it, because I'm trying to see, because I'm sure you all have seen what I'm talking about. It's like this, I mean, I guess it's just they act like teenagers. Like I was looking at the other day, I came across this creator on Facebook, and she's married to this dude. He has like this large following, right? But I was looking at her, just like I say, she came across my timeline, which I don't know why. Facebook is weird, but because there'll be people coming on your timeline, you're like, why is this here? I'm not interested in what this person's like. Their content is like, I have zero interest in this. But I was just kind of like, I noticed the child, the immaturity, and it's like, and she has kids, and it's like, but the lack of maturity, the lack of, there's no personal development taking place. And this is what happens. Like, they'll get married really young, like 23, 24 years old, and there's no personal development that has started. There's none of those things are taking place. I mean, they're just young, they're feral, they're out here just, you know, and then they get married, and then it's like, okay, there there's no, like I said, there's no personal development work being done. There's none of that is being done. And so you're still, even though you're 23, 24 years old, you're still a child in the mind. You're still like 16, 17 years old. That prefrontal cortex is still developing. And then you turn around and have children, right? And so you go from the archetype of the maiden, and then you go into the archetype of the mother, right? But the maiden still hasn't done any personal development work. It's even worse with church. Oh my God, yeah, them church girls. Yeah, critical. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no critical thinking skill because they haven't even had a chance to exercise real critical thinking skills yet. They haven't had a chance to do it. And so, and then you see them 10 years later. You see them 10 years later. What? All right. And so you see them 10 years later, and a lot of times it may look run down. Um, they just look like they've been taken through it. And because it's like 10, 15 years later down the line, then they start to be like, wow, like, why did I do this? And then they start questioning themselves, and then they start, and like I said, then, and that's when the things start. That's when everything starts. You start questioning yourself. You start going to therapy. You start, all of these things start taking place because you never did the work. Yeah, and that's funny you said that because I was just talking about trauma earlier. Um, so you've never done the work, and now here you are. You probably got married like 23 years old, right? And then now you're 34. And so now there's different things taking place, changes mentally, emotionally. Of course, you have physical changes because you've had children. But if you started young, 23, 24, a lot of times, your body will kind of go back to almost what it was before you had children. So, but, mentally and emotionally, you've changed. Things are different, and you're trying to figure out what this is. And of course, your husband, he don't know because they pretty much stay the same. And so now there's this conflict between you and him. That's if you're even recognizing what's going on with you. Because a lot of times I think what women will do, they'll know that these things are taking place, but they won't do anything. They won't address themselves. They won't admit that these things are taking place. They'll just push it down and just keep it going because they need to keep the peace. Family, I got to keep this thing going, and so you got all of that going on. And that's why I said this way marriage is set up, the system, it is designed to keep women infantilized and naive to the world out around them and outside of them. It is designed that way. It is delusional. It's rooted in delusion. And it's like, when I look at women who are married, I'm just like, wow, like, you don't even see yourself. There's no self-awareness taking place. You don't even see that you behave, you like, your behavior is that of like a child. And the husbands, they it's like they want you to stay in that space. because marriage under patriarchy is under the religious dogma. So it's God over man, man over woman, right? And woman over the child. But really, it's God over man and man over the women and the children, because the woman and the children are under the same, they're on that same level. He sees the woman and the children the same. Like, you're placed on the same level as the children. So when you start to come out of that, then it's like, oh, you've changed. Well, yeah, I mean, we're humans. We're supposed to evolve. Our life experiences are supposed to affect us in a way where it's supposed to evoke some sort of change, right? You're not supposed to stay stagnant. I mean, your cells change every 7 years. Like, you're not the same person you were 10 years ago, right? And specifically for women, you're not the same 23-year-old you were when you married him 10, 15 years ago. But they honestly, they really, really think that you're supposed to stay that way. Like, you 10 years into this thing, 10 years, 15 years into this thing, 2 or 3 kids later, they still think you're supposed to be the same way you were when you were 23 when y'all met. And it's like, when you're showing that you're not still her, then it's like, wait, well, what's going on here? Like, why are you acting like that? Right? And it's like, sir, I've changed. Like, why would you think, even just having children, you change, there's a cognitive change that takes place after you have children. Your brain starts to work a little differently than it did before you had children. So why would you think that I would still be the same? So a lot of married women are, yeah, that was me. That's why I can speak on these things. This is why I always tell women, I'm your cautionary tale, because I lived this. Oh, excuse me, y'all. See, this is why I'm redoing podcast mode today, because I was like way too tired and I did not want to show up on camera looking like, just looking exhausted. Nothing, concealer couldn't even help this. So, um, but yeah, I still wanted to come on here and do this. So, yeah. So you're gonna have these changes, and the the naivete is so prevalent. I mean, I see it. It's like every married woman I see now, it's like I can just see it. I can just see it, y'all. Like, it's so prevalent. It's like and it's, even like I said, it's so hard for me to describe. Like, just next time you're around a married woman, just observe her. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's this childish immaturity that they carry. And they could be like in their mid 30s and 40s. And they act like they're in high school. Like, it's really a trip to see. And there's like this awkwardness. Um, it's like there's like this awkwardness about them. And then a lot of times they're socially awkward, and it would make sense because they never had a chance to have certain life experiences as a single woman before they took on that gigantic role of wife and motherhood. So it's like they're socially awkward. They only know how to socialize with other moms, right? Now, fortunately for me, they also hate the faith. Right. Fortunately for me, I mean, I did, when I look back on at myself in my marriage, like I said, now I'm the observer. I can see that I carried some of that daughtership, right? Um, but I will say for me, I did have certain life experiences and things before I got married. Um, I didn't go from my mother's house to my husband's house. Like, I moved out, I went to college. Um, after I went to college, I did come back home for a while, and I moved in with my cousin, so we were roommates. I didn't live by myself yet, but I was pretty much on my own. So I had a roommate. So yeah, so I was working every day, going back to school. I was in the master's program, so I mean, I was like doing my thing, right? So I've always been, as introverted as I am, I'm also extroverted. So I've always been really, really good with communication and social skills and all of these things, being able to read the room. Like, I've always been good at, so I've had those experiences, right? So, but even with that, still having that conditioning, right? Because I grew up in a very Christian family, right? So we have that element. And just growing up with the religious, social, um, the conditioning and all of these things that take place, right? So I still had it in my mind that in order for me to um, feel secure, I needed to get married. And then even with that, though, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't, I wasn't ever like 100% buying into that, because my mom was a single mom and she made the shit happen, right? All of my aunts were pretty much single except two aunts of mine. But I saw my aunts go out. They worked every day. They owned property and did all these things. My mom owned property. Like, that's what I saw. So I saw women doing their thing with or without a man, basically. So I knew that I could take care of myself, because I mean, I had these examples growing up, right? So, but I still wanted that whole, being a wife and a mom. Like, I wanted that whole thing. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and and I still looked at the man as being like the leader and the head of the household and all that, because then I did see that element growing up as well. So I saw both, and I did a live some while ago where I talked about the reason why I actually got married. And I talked about it from this space of after doing that shadow work and realizing things about myself and why I did it, right? So so I did go in there with that mindset of, oh, okay, he's the man, he's supposed to lead, he's going to be the breadwinner, I'm going to be at home with the children. Like, I had this whole thing played out in my head, right? And I think, again, all of this is done by design. And because you have that mindset as a woman, you automatically place yourself in daughtership, right? But most women are in daughtership already. So it's not really that hard to do. It's almost like it's this easy transition, right? Because you were pretty much already in that anyway, because women are conditioned to be daughters. They're not conditioned into the initiation into womanhood. They're conditioned to be daughters. There's the conditioning, and then there's initiation. Women aren't initiated into womanhood anymore. The only thing that really initiates women, or another rites of passage, is for you to have a child. That's a rites of passage, right? That's initiating you into motherhood, even though you're not ready for it, right? But it's the conditioning mainly. So we are conditioned into daughtership. This is why a woman who meets another woman who's like, she's single, she's very successful, um, she's created a wonderful life for herself, and those types of women are, they're different in that they don't seek validation from others. They don't seek to be liked. They don't need to be, And I mean, those are the things: the validation, needing to be like the niceties that women, need to have, and all that. Like, women who are really successful like that and have created a great life for themselves, sometimes they come off as being mean to other women. And it's not so much that they're being mean; it's just that those types of women are no nonsense, right? They very much get it done. What we doing, like, that's how those women are. They hold a position, some sort of power position. They're very much in their authority, right? And so most women can't deal with women like that. Those types of women are very straightforward. They're not sugarcoating anything. They're not playing into another woman's delusions. They're not doing any of that. And so most women are in daughtership. So when they meet a woman who's not like that, they don't know what to do with her. They got to find somewhere to place her. So instead of actually learning from this woman, right, they call her mean, right? She's mean, all this kind of stuff, all the little high school shit, mean girl shit, right? So that's why, and women like that. This is why they get such flack from men, because men don't like for a woman to be a woman. They want her to be a grown woman with the mind of a little girl, right? They want a 24, a 23-year-old young woman, right? Beauty, they want the optics, right? But even her being 23, they still want her to have the mind of like a 16 or 17-year-old. So this is why they don't like dealing with women who they so-called hit the wall, right? Hitting the wall is basically wisdom. So they want this naivete. Like I said, I mean, this is done by design. Women in being in daughtership and being infantilized is what keeps this thing going. When you are not a woman who dwells in that space of delusion and daughtership, the world wants to throw you away. The world meaning men or whatever, the patriarchal system. They want to throw women like that away. Oh, you hit the wall. Oh, done a man wants you. You gonna be a lonely cat lady and all this stuff, all this manosphere red pill shit, right? And I love how women are actually embracing this, right? I love how women are saying, okay, yeah, I will be a lonely cat lady. And and who said I'm lonely? What, just because I don't have a man in my face all day long, you just assume I'm lonely? And that's another thing. Women equate loneliness with not having a man, right? So that's definitely a reflection of the daughtership and being infantilized. Yes, facts. That would see 19. Oh, I think you said that was me from 1926. Only saving grace was my education, self development and career. Absolutely, and I mean that's what's needed, right? That's exactly what you need. This is why I said, when there's no personal development going on for you as a young lady, that's where you are. You could be 25, 26 years old, and a man could easily come in as maybe 10 years older than you, and he'll look like he have his stuff together and he got you, right? Because women automatically see men as like these father, leader, he knows everything. So let me be with him and let me shrink myself so I can be with him. So let me be a child. Let me behave like a child. So that way he'll take care of me and he'll provide and protect, and he won't see me as a threat. So if I'm very smart, let me not be as smart as I am, because I don't want to pose a threat, right? And so this is done from, this is because, like I said, there's no personal development work being done. Women just fall in line. And the way the system is set up, like before, is, like I said, it's all done by design. The delusion, the romance, the, you know, um, leaving your brain at home, shrinking yourself, all of these things. These are things that are expected of you as a woman if you want to have a man, right? Men say there's a lot of men that say they want a woman who has a mind of her own and blah, 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 blah. No, they don't. They say that. But as soon as you show that you're exercising that, then it becomes a problem, right? As soon as you disagree with him, or you don't, you know, you want to go off and do something that, you know, that may not necessarily go along with what he's doing, then it becomes a problem. I know a woman now that has waited for a man to travel. She hasn't ever traveled, and it's 5 years of straight. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And this is what women do. I mean, they literally be sitting there waiting for a man before they live their life. I remember I talked about how everything that women do is about getting a man. They plan their whole life around getting a man. So if I go to school, I'm a major in this, so that way it's like this thing in the back of their mind. And I talk about this as well, that dude that you've been fantasizing about ever since you was a little girl. You are already making space for this man, and you haven't even met him yet. And you're already creating space for him to be in your life. You're already planning your life around him, right? I'm gonna go to school for this long. I'm gonna go to graduate school, but then I want to be done with graduate school at this age, because I might want to get married at this point and start having children. And so I need blah, blah. Like, this is the kind of stuff that women do. They literally plan their lives around getting a husband, and it's so deeply conditioned and embedded in us to do this that we don't even realize we're doing it. So that's why it's so important to break that before to like, it's like you have to break it before it even starts, if that makes sense. Like, when girls are young, you know, if you as an older woman, if you can have the ear of, 18, 19, early 20-year-old young women, if you have their ear and you can start to give them that wisdom, you are breaking that spell. Like, you're already removing the veil from their eyes, because they're not going to get that. No one else is going to remove that veil. It is in the best interest of the system that women stay completely clueless and naive to the world and to men and how they operate. It is in the best interest of this system that women stay that way. This is why you will have men say something like, they don't want their girlfriends or their wives listening to the older women in their family and stuff like that, like, because they know the older women have wisdom. Yes, some women are just bitter old bitches, we know that, but it doesn't matter, because we would all be placed in the same category, right? Like, I would be placed in the category of being a bitter old woman, a bitter bitch or whatever, right? Just because of the wisdom that I have, and the knowledge and the wisdom that I could pass on to a young lady, right? And just basically helping her prepare for life, and what's going to be expected of her, what she's going to be viewed as, and what she needs to do, and the personal development she needs to do on herself, and how not to be falling for the okie doke, right? They don't want women like me, right? This is why the bros be coming in my comment section. They like to call me old, or of course they told me I've hit the wall. I've had that one a few times. Um, What else? Those are the two main ones they tell me. They either tell me I've hit the wall, or they tell me that I'm old and all this stuff, right? And I don't get offended by it or anything like that. I actually think it's funny because I already know where that's coming from. You don't want young women listening to me. Like, you would not want your daughters listening to me. If you but now, if you are a man who really wants his daughters to not be out here being naive and stupid, then yeah, you would definitely want her listening to me. But if nothing else, and you know what, and honestly, I'm gonna take that back, because a lot of these dudes, they be wanting their daughters to get this knowledge. The woman they don't want listening to it, though, is their women. They don't want their wives or their girlfriends listening to women like me, but they'll let their daughters do it. Isn't that interesting? It's interesting how these men, they want to keep the woman that they're with on lock. They want to keep her on lockdown, but they want their daughters to get all the information. Yeah, you need to know how these niggas are, because blah, 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 blah. And all this stuff. They be wanting to put their daughter on game. But the wife and the girlfriend, no, you need to stay naive and unaware, because I need to still be able to control you to a degree. But my daughter, no, I want her to know how these niggas operate. Isn't that interesting that they do that? I just find that to be interesting. And then you have the dynamic where you have a lot of fathers who don't talk to their daughters, who don't put their daughters on game. And that's because they are afraid that their daughters are going to see them as like, oh, well, he is a man. He's telling me all this stuff about men. That must mean that he's like that, or he used to be like that. So that's another thing that men are afraid of. They don't want to, that's why they don't want to put their daughters on game. Right. So, and this is why you have, um, and actually, this makes me think of this woman. She was talking about, I think, no, it was this man. I think it probably was both a man and a woman. I think I heard both talk about how evolution, and about something about women and menopause and evolution or something like that, and how evolution has it where how did he put it, where women, the crone, the menopausal woman is needed, like, not so much the older man, but the older women. He was like, we need grandmothers, we need great grandmothers, because that's the wisdom, that's where all the wisdom is. And this is why I talk about, being in that crone, like, I'm in my crone phase, right? And so I have all of this wisdom and all of this to give to women younger than me. Like, I tell women all the time, I'm your cautionary tale. I'm giving you this wisdom and this knowledge so you don't do what I did. I tell my daughter this. I'm doing this. I want you to see. I want you to see and observe how all of these things are taking place and how these things are playing out. I want you to see me. Think about how I was when you were younger as opposed to the age you are now. You're seeing a different mommy, right? Because I'm still mommy. Um, and my daughter is 20, y'all, and she still calls me mommy. It's so funny. I was like, you still call me mommy? When I was 20, I was just saying mom. But anyway, so, it's like, watch, see how things are playing out, and not taking anything away from her dad, because I never do that. I don't speak negatively or anything about him, but I talk to her about the dynamics and how things are between men and women, and I get into the biological nature of a man and all of these things. Like, I really get into all of these things with her. And so it's not about speaking ill of her father, because honestly, she's going to see for herself just about men in general. Right. And so, oh, sorry about that, y'all. And so she's going to see for herself. So I don't have to, like, it was never a thing where I felt like I needed to speak ill of him, you know? So, um, yeah, so basically, you know, like I was saying this, they were talking about how, you know, like I said, he was like, you know, we need grandmothers and great grandmothers because that's the wisdom. That's the, you know, nature dictates that we go through all of these stages of our lives as women. You know, menopause is the crone phase. Well, I'm not menopausal yet, but I just say I'm in my crone phase because I'm almost there, right? So, because I'm at that stage of having all of this wisdom now, right? And so yeah, so it's like when you get to that stage, when you get to premenopause or menopause, that is, it's a great, like I said, it's that crone. And you start to get to that point where you just you just don't care. You give no fucks at that point. And you're all about doing things that make you happy. You're all about fulfilling whatever sort of goals and things that you had that you know that you ended up placing on hold because you were doing the mommy wife thing. And so now you are doing these things and you are making sure that you do things that fulfill you. And so when you're in that space and you're able to give this wisdom to younger women, right? And even young men, if they're willing to listen, if they're willing to humble that ego of theirs and listen to what this woman has to say, right? I think when men really have a problem with just listening to the wisdom of women, they're always looking some they're always looking for women to say certain things that they can use to manipulate other women. They're not listening to this woman to just gain that knowledge and that wisdom and taking it and, you know, and applying it to their lives to do something, you know, better with themselves, right? To assist them with their own personal development. No, they're taking all that so they can use it to be manipulative, right? And so yeah, so this is really a really great space for me because I'm able to observe and really see, you know, women's behaviors and, you know, just observing and then thinking about, wow, like I used to have that mindset, or did I used to have that mindset? You know, and just kind of, like I said, just observing and just noticing things. And like I said, you know, when I really started paying attention and just really looking at how women behave, women who are married, right? And how they act like children. Like they really place themselves in the position of a child. And it's just amazing to watch. You know, this wanting to be a princess and like that's stuff that you say as a little girl. You you 30 years old and you still trying to be a princess? Like what y'all doing? Oh, he treats me like a princess. That's weird. That's actually weird and it's cringe. Why would you want to be treated like a princess and you 35 years old? Like I'm trying to understand. That don't make sense. So it's like if you're being treated like a princess, you must see him as your king, right? So then what does that mean? That means that you're in the position of father and daughter. Because that's usually the case, right? The king is the father and the princess is the daughter. So here we go again with that father-daughter dynamic between men and women. This is why I say the relationship between men and women, these interpersonal relationships between men and women are incestuous by nature. Because you're both of them are simultaneously playing that mother-son and father-daughter role. When I say stuff like that, it's like that sort of, like I get a lot of flack for that. But I know I get a lot of flack for it because there's truth to it. It's the truth, and people are very uncomfortable with the truth. They don't like the way it makes them feel. I think the truth. I wonder, like, most people's nervous systems are dysregulated anyway. I wonder if the truth adds to the dysregulation because they're having a hard time accepting it, or if they're so used to being dysregulated when the truth is actually regulating them. That's just a thought. I need to explore that. But yeah, so you know, I just wanted to address that naivete in women who are married because, like I said before, it's so prevalent. And, marriage under this construct it's like sometimes I'll be thinking, like, y'all still doing that? Like, y'all still getting married? Why are y'all doing that? Like, why are we still doing this? Right? I mean, I know the statistics are showing us now that a lot of women are waiting and they're not doing it, which I think is awesome. Um, because I mean, unless you, like I said, unless the two of you are purpose driven, you've done the work, you continue to do the work, you know, you're not rushing into anything, you're just enjoying each other. I mean, I think that's cool. I think companionship can be great, but most humans are just too codependent for it to just be companionship. They're just too codependent and they're too needy. And they really think that relationships are supposed to be built on need and codependency instead of two people coming together as whole beings, right? And coming together to enhance each other's lives. No, most people are coming in needy and codependent. So, anyway, let's see. It looks depressing. Yeah, it do. I have married friends. Yeah. And that's funny you said that because I was in Target the other day and I was looking at all the women in there that had children with them. And I was just like, wow, these women look so drained, just exhausted. And it's just like, wow, like what's going on at home? I mean, children will wear you out, but I think it's worse when the father is not pulling. Well, I know it is. It's worse when he's not pulling his weight, right? I mean, the bulk of the parenting is going to go to you as the mother. I mean, that's just what it is. And this is why I always say, women were taken out of their communal structure and placed in this nuclear family bullshit. And this is why women look the way they do. This is why they look drained. This is why they don't have anything else to give for themselves because they're draining themselves. They have nothing. Nobody, I always say the mother needs to be mothered. You know, I started looking at the married women at work and the single women, and the single ones look so rich. While the married ones look, yeah, let me tell you. I mean, yeah, see? And let me honestly, like, I know for me, I'm still going through like a regenerative, I think I said that right, process. Because like I'll look back on pictures of me. Now obviously I'm older than I was when I got married, but I'll look back at pictures of me when I was like just married, and I still had the that glow and just all of that, right? And then I look at pictures of myself when I had my daughter, and I still had it, but I think things started to change for me once I had my son. And because boys are a lot of work. And I think that when you have a son, it definitely it's more taxing on you and it will speed up the aging process. The stress of having a son and then him having autism, it does add to it. And so, but if the father isn't pulling his weight like he should, it makes it just adds more weight on you as the mother, and it can take its toll on you. And so one of the things that I said that I was going to do is like I'm going to start the um I'm going to do a reverse aging process. I know that I am. And because like I said, okay, well, so I was looking at pictures and I started noticing like, okay, I'm starting to look more and more tired. And and people can say, oh, vanity or whatever, and it is an aspect of vanity. I don't have a problem with admitting to that. I mean, I'm a woman. I don't want to be looking raggedy and tired, right? We don't like looking like that as women. We want to look good. Sister has 2 sons, and I feel bad for her. Yep, she changed her mother father. Yep, I'm trying to tell you, like, it's draining, and it's gonna be it'll be even harder on you you because you have all of this knowledge and wisdom and stuff, and and so you want your children, specifically your son, you want to instill these certain values and stuff in him so he will go out and be a productive member of society, right? And so that actually adds to it, because if you're really the only one that's doing that, that's more work for you, right? And so this is the thing, like, it's like for women, when we have, especially when we have sons, if you really don't have anyone to lean on, yeah, the fathers are there or whatever, but if he's not really putting in that what he should be putting in, especially as he gets older, especially as your son is reaching adolescence, the father really needs to be like all hands on deck at that point. Like it as the mother, that's actually when your break should start. Like you should start to slowly, you should start to slowly be able to pull away a little bit, right? Because he needs to start learning what it's like to be a young man. And the father should be, like I said, all hands on deck. Like you shouldn't even really have to deal with any too much difficulty with him at that point. It should all be on that father, right? I mean, yes, your mother, you're going to be nurturing. That's just what you're going to do, but all that other shit, pops need to be handling that at that point. And what I noticed with me was, as my son started getting older, there's this natural occurrence that takes place between you and your son as a mother. It's a natural occurrence that takes place. And that natural occurrence is you start to slowly pull away. And that's a natural thing, because he's starting to become a young man. And now it's time for the father to really get in there. But if he's not doing that, then it causes a disruption, right? And so now, just when you thought you were going to start to be able to kind of rest and start to transition into another aspect of your life, you're not able to. You're still being pulled in that direction of having to do all of these things for your son, things that you shouldn't have to be doing. Like I don't have a penis. I don't have boy parts, right? I don't know what it's like to have a male brain. Yet I'm still supposed to be the one doing all of this extra shit. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, instead of allowing that natural occurrence to take place where you start to pull away a little bit, you're not able to do it. You're still having to take care of him as if he's a toddler. And that's where the problem comes in. That's where the exhaustion takes place for women. So once I started to see how exhausted I started looking, I was like, I don't like this shit. Not one bit. And like I said, yeah, you can call it vanity or whatever, but I'm used to, like, being one of the, you know, like, oh, that's the pretty girl in the room. Like that was my life, right? And so once I saw that, I was like looking exhausted. I'm like, nah, we got to do something about this. No, this ain't gonna fly, right? So yeah, I'm like, I had to start doing the work. I had to start placing up them boundaries, and I mean, it's still a lot of work, y'all. It's still a lot of work, a lot of work. And then I'm building my business, so it's just a lot going on. But yeah, once I saw how things were changing for me, I was like, no, we're not doing this. So like I said, the boundaries had to go up. It's just certain things that I just decided I'm not participating in anymore. I was like, that's not that. Hey, that you need to talk to your dad about that, because I'm not doing it. Not doing it. And if you got to deal with the consequences of not listening and doing what you're supposed to do, then I guess that's on you. Hey, we all got to learn lessons here. You have parents who have seen it all and have done it all and have had all these experiences, and they're here to teach you and guide you. And if you don't want to listen, hey, you're just going to have to learn the hard way. So that's what it is. You can't protect them from learning their lessons. They are not exempt from that. Women have to be very strategic with the man. Oh, absolutely. This is why they got no business doing it until they are coming into the position as a player and not a pawn. It's a chess game. This is what they don't get. This is what women are not getting. It's all strategy. You got to negotiate that womb, all of it. It's all strategy. And that's why I said most of them don't have no business playing the game, because they don't know that they're pawns. You got to come in there already in a power position. You have to come in there already being a player. So if you can't do that, then you need to just take several seats, because you ain't ready. So, and that's the game. That's the game right there. So I think that's why a lot of women just want to relegate themselves to just being little girls and being teenagers and stuff, because they don't want to play the game. They would rather be pawns, because pawns, you don't have to do anything. You can just allow yourself to be moved around the chessboard at the whim of of all the other players on the board. Right? So, but yeah. Well, I am going to get off of here, Brown Sugar. I don't know. I think it's just me and you left right now. I think Sabrina left, because I don't see. I know she came in earlier, but I think she left. So yeah, it's just us. Oh, let me see what you said here. I read a story where a businessman was able to leave his corporation and start after he passed. I knew she had high education. They taught her everything from child. Yeah, the woman came and see him died with a child. I know that's right. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And you know that if her father did that, she knows exactly how to deal with men. So I love that. I love hearing stories about that. Hey, oh, you know what? Real quick, Brown Sugar, if you can, you were supposed to send me that link to that video from last week. I can't remember what it was, but you were gonna DM me. So when you get a chance, yeah, send that to me. But what made me think of that is the story right here. I would love to read about that. Um, but anyway, yeah, she knew she had. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go on and get on out of here. And yeah, I think that's it. I will be back next week. I posted it on which post? Tell me which post. You talking about on here on Substack? Child, just well, if you posted, I don't know if you're friends with me on Facebook or TikTok. Um, but yeah, if you just want to DM me, that could work. You can DM me on here, because I don't know what post. Are you friends with me on Facebook? I don't know. Okay, well, I'm gonna dip out, but yeah, just tag me on it or something, or DM me. All right, so I'll be back next week, ladies, and well, lady, because I think it's just me and you. And I'll be on camera next week, because I'm sure I will have had some proper rest. So, all right. that's about it. You know, have a great rest of your day. Oh, you said you. Oh, DM me here. You not. Oh, okay. So you're not friends with me on Facebook. Okay. Well, my link. Yeah. My link to Facebook is in my bio on here if you want to follow me over there. So, but anyway, all right. So I'll look for that video, and I will see y'all next week. All right.